the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Thursday, December 29th. Yesterday, we pre-recorded, as we do very often, to be honest, with Craig Button on Wednesdays. Craig is a regular collaborator on Wednesdays, and 10 p.m. Eastern means, I believe, 8 p.m. Calgary time where he resides. And most of the time, he's working hockey, of course, for TSN and covering games and providing analysis. So we went a little bit early yesterday, and damn, I have to tell you that when the Montreal Canadiens announced a trade at 9:30 p.m. on their Twitter account or application X, whatever you want to call it, let's actually bring it up. The Canadiens announcing the trade on their Twitter account. There you have it. They've acquired defenseman Alexandre Carrier from the Nashville Predators in exchange for defenseman Justin Barron. Take a look at that at 9:30 p.m. Not too many trades are announced at 9:30 p.m. But yeah, that was the deal that was made, of course, last night. So when you watched the podcast last night, we weren't able to tackle it because we had pre-recorded before the trade was actually done. But the good news is that we're going to be able to tackle it right now. And we're going to get to Brian Wilde from Global TV Montreal. We'll get to him in a minute. Not before I tell you that the Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They're driven to be different. They're a top fleet employer as far as transport is concerned across Canada. Energy Transportation Group. Also brought to you in part by Bittt at Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for chilly winter days. Only 90 calories, only 2 grams of carbs, only 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing, and brought to you in part by Playground. Ring in 2025 with glitter, groove, and glam at Playground's New Year's Eve party. Get your party bracelet and access all the excitement across every floor. Starting at 5 p.m., bracelets are required for entry. For just $20, you'll receive $20 in free play and a glass of Prosecco to toast the new year. Bracelets are also required for poker action on the third floor. Get ready for an unforgettable night of music, dancing, and exclusive gaming fun. Celebrate in style only at Playground. I talked to you about Brian Wilde. Let's bring him in. Brian, how are you?
Very good. I'm ready to do this.
Good.
Boy, that was a surprising trade, wasn't it? Well, the timing, 9:31 p.m.
Yes, at 9:30 p.m. Yes, I did not expect to see that at that time. Surprising that Justin Barron was traded? No. Because, you know, he was in and out of the lineup. He was out of it more than he was in it. When he was in it, he wasn't making a difference. And, and for even Justin Barron's career, he was not an ideal 7 when he wasn't playing. It wasn't good for the Canadiens. It wasn't good for him. He wasn't just fitting in. And look, I take a look at every defenseman, and they all have their strengths and they all have their weaknesses. But if the Montreal Canadiens want to win playoff games going forward, Justin Barron is not the hardest player to play against.
That's very diplomatic, Tony. That was as diplomatic as you could make that. I actually have used the word soft. Players don't like to hear that word. I know it, but I don't think he's shown anyone the grit to grind yet. And I'm not sure that he's ever going to show it. And he becomes, Tony, officially the very first player that the new management gives up on in their rebuild.
And you're absolutely right about that because if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was one of the first moves, if not the first move that they actually made, was acquiring Justin Barron from the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Arturi Lehkonen. Several years later, I think we have to say, trading a 23-year-old player and giving up on Barron this soon, I think it's safe to say that they conceded on that deal. And, they officially said yesterday, look, the deal didn't work out for us, so we've decided to part ways.
And I'm one to always believe you should wait until 25 on a player, theoretically. Like I'll always say, you've got to keep waiting. We've seen a lot of players come out of the learning phase at 24 and 25. And in theory, with quotation marks, I will say that I don't like what they did. But in practice, I did, because I don't believe that he will ever become a player. And as a result, you have to cut your losses sometimes. And his value will one day, I think, when he's 25, be 0. So you've got a player with 2.5 years left on his contract that you can rely on to play the right side. So cut your losses when practically it doesn't work, and theoretically you hoped for more.
And this doesn't only have to do with Justin Barron's play performances or lack thereof. It doesn't only have to do with adding a more experienced player on defense, because they have a lot of young players playing at the same time, and they have a lot of young prospects as well. If we take a look at Reinbacher and Engstrom and Mayu, and take a look at Struble and Jackeye and Gooley and Hudson, they're all between 19 and 24 years of age. They're extremely young, so they could afford to give up on a younger player. But this also has to do, speaking of their prospects, it has to do with Logan Mayu's play on the farm with Laval. They obviously that Mayu is ready sometime soon here.
I think, I watch the Laval Rocket a lot. I really enjoy it. I just overall really enjoy watching prospects, and that's what they are. So he's kind of taken a little step back in the last 3 weeks, and I would say even Engstrom has passed him in the last 3 weeks. And Joshua was taking a little step back, and Owen Beck has taken a step up. And it's interesting how it goes,
Yeah.
It just goes back and forth with these guys. And when they're ready, they're always at a very consistently high level. And Maya isn't that just yet. And bringing in some experience to me said that for the rest of this year, it said two things. They don't really believe Maya is ready to take that mantle of a top 4D. So even at 6, they're not particularly positive. So they felt that they needed some experience for this season alone. And it also said, strangely to me, because I hate the math, and we'll have to bring that math up eventually, it also said, I think that they believe that they're competing still for this season and wanted to get stronger for this season, and didn't feel like taking a step back, enjoyed the victory over Buffalo and the excitement that it was, with Laine having the hat trick and ole and standing ovation. And I think they got a little of the juice in them on Tuesday night and said, let's keep going.
And speaking of the right side of defense, trading of Jonathan Kovacevic in the offseason also says two things. It says, one, they didn't believe in Kovacevic very much. Number two, they didn't believe in him enough to not want to give young players an opportunity, which they did. Barron was one of them, but obviously for them, he didn't pass the test.
But I would say that I think they probably, at the moment that they made that Kovacevic trade, said, we believe Maillot is really close, and we believe Barron is really close. And I think in both instances, they got a little bit of a comeuppance that they weren't actually as close as they thought. And so now they're kind of readjusting, going back in with Carrier into the fold of having veterans, which I think, Tony, is something that when you look at a lot of teams that are struggling, a lot of people say that you need that little experience mix. And I think if you had to pick a position that you do need that experience mix more, it's on defense. The teams that think that they can rise up and out without, defenders that have learned how to massage the end of the game for 2 points tend to have longer rebuilds.
Okay.
I know Eric feels that. I don't know if he said that on Monday with you.
Yeah. I got a question for you. So David Savard's 34 years old.
Uh-huh.
What do you think his next contract will look like with whoever he decides to sign with? 1 year, 2 years, any chance at 3?
Oh, well, I would have said last year
Yeah.
that he could have probably at the trading deadline, if he got moved and then he moved with kind of like a trading contract sort of purchase, I would have said 3. But I mean, we're in agreement. He's regressed a little this year, right?
His skating is laborious. He's taking a
Yeah.
step
So,
back. Yeah.
okay. Well, I wanted to be gentle there, but
Yeah.
so I'll
Well, you
I'll
call
go
Justin Barron soft, so I mean,
I didn't want to be gentle with him because
Yeah.
when I use the word soft, I'm going in hard.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know what I mean? But an aging veteran that's paid his dues and, has had a long, great career, I will kind of go in less hard on that because he's earned my respect.
Yes.
Right? He
But
blocked shots.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the question is important because if David Savard can get a 2-year deal somewhere, he's obviously going to want to pursue that. It's his last kick at the can at unrestricted free agency. It's probably going to be his last contract in the National Hockey League. He's going to try and want to secure as much as he can for him and his family, and it's only normal. If no team, and we don't know this, right? We haven't spoken to 32 general managers, but if no team decides to give David Savard a 2-year offer, he could be there for the Canadiens, sign a 1-year deal with no promises of where he's going to be in the lineup. Some nights he'll be a 5, some nights he'll be a 6, and some nights he'll be watching from the press box and he's not going to be able to be in the lineup. He would be ideal in that role. A veteran, loved by everyone,
wants to be
obviously very appreciated in that locker room, appreciated by the media and the fan base. You don't have to worry about making him a healthy scratch, that it's going to affect his ceiling whatsoever because he's had his career. He is who he is. The time off is not going to hurt him. As a matter of fact, in most cases, it's probably going to help him. So I'd be really interested to know what the market is for David Savard, if a team would be willing to offer him 2. And then again, who knows? They might trade him at the deadline, get something for him, and he'll re-sign with them in the offseason. It's not something that happens often in hockey, but it happens every now and then.
Right, and the Canadiens have been pretty good at that, right? I mean, they did it with Thomas Plekanec as one example I remember, and they did it with Sean Monahan. That's another example I remember. So, if anybody's going to do it, it's that kind of player like Savard, who definitely told everybody that this is where he wanted to finish his career. So, if he gets an opportunity to do that, he wants to keep his family in Quebec. I think it would be. I think it would be a good move. I'm starting to come around to, and I wasn't necessarily in the beginning, but I spent a long time looking at rebuilds, as you know. And another element that I looked at the other day was, what happened to the Sabres. I mean, we're all talking about that, and you can see what experience is worth, especially on the blue line. And I think David Savard would be okay to spend another year or 2 in Montreal and not hurt anything. He's not going to demand a ton of money.
Yeah, I know why he should. A big reason that nobody's talking about why David Savard should stay in Montreal. This is the only place you're going to hear it. Fruiterie de l'Art, a family-run business, a mainstay in the LaSalle community. Since 1995, Brian, they're proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years. They're going to bring David Savard there. From fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches, you'll find personalized service and friendly faces, one of which is Tasso, that make you feel like family. Fruiterie de l'Art. I go there every Saturday.
He's one of the baristas there.
I go there every Saturday. Okay, but so look, because some people believe, and it could be, that the acquisition of Alexandre Carrier is setting the tables for an eventual departure of David Savard.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, that's so much in line with what Reinbacher brings. Now, obviously, he's had major surgery here. You're not gone 6 months because he had a meniscus tear.
Yeah.
You're gone 6 months because something catastrophic happened there, and they have not detailed the, exact measure of what happened to him. But one has to assume for 6 months recovery that it's catastrophic. So you're expecting a Kirby Dach style year, and it's going to be hard to hear that Kirby Dach style year next year out of Reinbacher. For one thing, they invested a lot in him at 5 overall. For 2, Mitchkoff's doing well in Philadelphia. For 3, as next year's probably not going to be great. For 4, the right side is a little bit thin. For 5, Mailloux better, start improving faster or it's going to stay thin. So, I don't see a problem with Savard being on the team, considering the timeline of Reinbacher, the delayed timeline of Maillot, and
You're
the
right
right
about
side as
Reinbacher.
well, with Matheson not being very comfortable there. Frankly.
After missing what will be the entire season, or maybe the entire season minus 3 or 4 weeks, we'll see what happens with his injury. I don't see David Reinbacher starting with the big club next year. I don't.
Oh, no.
No. He needs minutes. He needs games, and it needs to happen with all about Rocket. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
they won't make the Doc mistake again.
Let's bring up Alexandre Carrier's hockey DB if we can. All right, there you have it. Here's a guy who played for the Gatineau Olympiques for 4 seasons, Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. We saw that in his last 2 seasons, he put up points. Look at that, 55 points in 68 games, 47 points in 57 games. In the 2015 NHL draft, he was drafted in round number 4, 115th overall. He's 5'11". He's about $180 now, probably. And he's a right-handed defenseman. I had a chance to see him play on that 3-on-3 at Hockey Etc. In the last couple of years. Played in the American Hockey League with Milwaukee Admirals, who were the farm club, of course, for the Nashville Predators. And was in Nashville since 2016, 2017, but then once again went back down to the American Hockey League for 3 seasons. Came back up, played just a couple of games in 2019, 2020 with Nashville. Not many more games in 2021. Back down in the American Hockey League for a couple of games. Really started being a full-time NHL defenseman in 2021, 2022. So this was his 4th season in the National Hockey League of being a full-time NHLer, and now he's a Montreal Canadian. What are you expecting from him?
Well, when I look at that, the first thing that comes to my mind is he finally made it in the NHL as a regular at the age of 25.
Yep.
It's the same script all the time, isn't it? It's just so easy to think, everybody's like disappointed guys that are 20 and 21 and think that's it for them, especially on the blue line. And then this kid just keeps persevering, playing for the Admirals. And then suddenly at 25, he's learned enough that it gets comfortable. He's slowed down the hockey game and he starts to achieve. I mean, he's obviously, he's not going to fill the net. He's going to be fairly mistake-free, and they're going to like that. He's been playing 20 minutes a night in Nashville. They're going to like that. They're going to like the reliability for 20 minutes. I think he's going to be second pair guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think just going to expect a steady hockey player. Some errors, of course. He's not going to be perfect. I mean, he's not Cale Makar or anything, but he's going to be a steady hockey player, and that's what they wanted. They want right side steadiness that they hadn't been getting enough.
Yeah. So you're thinking that he will already supplant David Savard in the lineup, in the rotation. He'll be a second pairing, and David Savard will be on the third pairing. I would think that for the most part, yes, and I think that less is going to be more for David Savard.
Right. I like what you're thinking there. Yeah. When you start to slow down a smidge, you don't want to be playing 23 minutes anymore. You could probably manage 15. Just like we always talk about, if you're the third liner, but you got to play second line players, you're probably not going to look so good. But if you get, amongst where you belong, you might actually put some nice minutes in. So I agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see the pairings being, Tony? Just to ask you a question.
Yeah, that's. I think it all depends on who they're going to be playing against, but
I think Gouli stays right side.
You think Gouli stays right side?
Mm-hmm.
Matheson,
for now, yeah.
Matheson right side. No.
I kind of like Hudson Gouli a little bit more in my heart of hearts. And I like the future. You know what I mean? Here's like the two guys that you put a lot in the future, and I think that they would be a little bit better because Matheson thinks offense, Hudson thinks offense, and I think together they're just a little too offensive, instinctively.
Yeah.
So I do like Gouli more with Hudson staying left side, and then Matheson would get Carrier, and then Jack Guy would get Savard.
So
what do you think?
I think that they see Caden Gouli's future with the Montreal Canadiens on the left side of defense.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
I think
who goes on the right in your?
I think it's going to be Matheson.
So they're going to sacrifice him a little bit, hey?
I think Matheson,
he's terrible there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I understand, but
he's so much better on the left.
Yeah, but if you're going to have Carrier for the next couple of seasons and you're going to have Logan Mailloux and you might have David Savard, it's a slim possibility, but you might. And, you're going to have Reinbacher at one point. I don't know. I just think that they'll sacrifice Matheson on the offside. But look, I think we're going to see a little bit of everything. What we do know is this, okay? For the most part, their top four is going to be Lane Hudson, Caden Gooley, Alexandre Carrier, and Mike Matheson. And then, it's going to be a mishmash.
And then move them around and see who plays well together. And I agree. Eventually, Gooley left side. I mean, I'm not suggesting,
I hear you.
In 2027, he's still on the right. It's just they got a little bit of a shortage right now until Reinbacher and Mailloux are NHLers, and then Gooley can play left where he belongs.
Yeah, let's take a look at Alexandre Carrier's contract. It's a decent contract. $3.75 million this year is the cap hit. $3.57 million next year is the cap hit. $3.75 million the year after that is the cap hit. At age 30, becomes a UFA. It's a very digestible cap hit.
And they just signed him. I mean, they believed in him, not too long ago. I mean, this has gone south so fast for Nashville. Yeah. I mean, they just had no idea that it could possibly go south like this. I mean, they signed Steve Stamkos, for God's sakes, not for it to go south and be 32nd in the league. This is crazy.
I think they're saying to themselves, we added a couple of older players. It hasn't worked out. Let's try to add some younger players. And that's what I think they're trying to accomplish here. I mean, they got a defenseman who's 5 years younger, and they're probably saying, all right, we already know what Alexandre Carrier is. He's probably hit his ceiling. We don't expect him to be better. Let's see what Justin Barron can become. And actually, we're hearing that he was on their list at the draft. Like, they've been eyeing this guy. They've been targeting him for a while.
Is that right?
They see something in him. What
have they been watching lately?
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know. But no, I hear you. Sometimes a change of scenery can do wonders, but I hope that Justin Barron, for him, it could be a wake-up call to say, okay, what am I missing in my game? And I have to add it, because so here, you went strong before. I'm going to go strong right now, okay? The Justin Barron that we've seen up until now is a defenseman more suited to play in Europe than he is in the National Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I mean, when we're talking about Justin Barron, I mean, this is what we do for a living. We can't sit there and be soft all the time, or change the channel. When you and I saw it 1,000 times, and anybody who knows the game saw it 1,000 times. And the truth is, when F1 came down, he kind of let the guy go ahead of him. That's not going to cut it in the NHL, dude. That's not going to cut it. You can't look and go, whoa, that guy's big. You just go ahead and take that, and I'll follow you. That's not NHL defending. And your teammates don't have a ton of respect for that either, to be honest.
Yeah.
You got to go get that puck, take the hit, and realize that this is a really tough game, and it sucks. But you're going to need an ice pack at the end of it, and you're not prepared to wear one. You're not going to be great. And I think that's why he became the very first guy they ever gave up on, in my honest opinion.
I'm not sure if we have the Marty St. Louis clip. Marty St. Louis was asked about David Savard, about Alexandre Carrier earlier today. We have the clip, I've been told. I think it's mostly in French, if not all in French. But
I understand French, Tony.
But I will translate for those who do not.
Oh, good. That's smart as well.
Let's go ahead and play it.
Club à court terme. Dans le moment présent.
Non, écoute, c'est ça. C'est une partie de la job qui est pas le fun. C'est quand tu as un joueur qui part, un joueur que tu as passé du temps avec. JB nous a... J'aimais ça travailler avec lui. C'est un bon jeune joueur. Mais ça fait partie de la business. Puis pour aller chercher des bons joueurs, mais faut que tu donnes des affaires souvent. Puis, mais tu amènes un vétéran comme Carrier qui est capable de faire beaucoup de choses. C'est un gars avec tu peux pas acheter cette expérience-là. Fait que d'avoir un gars qui a cette expérience-là. Mais je pense que ça va être notre groupe, comme tu dis aujourd'hui.
Est-ce que tu le connaissais un peu, Martin?
Non, pas beaucoup.
OK. Qu'est-ce qu'on t'a dit sur lui Le style de joueur, qu'est-ce qu'il peut apporter à l'équipe?
C'est un gars qui a un niveau de combativité assez élevé. C'est pas le plus gros joueur, mais il joue beaucoup plus gros que son gabarit. Puis c'est un joueur capable de tuer des punitions, il est capable de prendre des minutes. Je pense que ça va aider notre groupe.
As-tu parlé hier?
Juste texté.
Barron faisait partie du présent, mais aussi de l'avenir de cette organisation-là. C'est un jeune joueur et tout. Carrière plus vieux, on peut interpréter ça comme un signe que maintenant, c'est important dès maintenant, quand on va chercher un vétéran comme ça puis qu'on donne un jeune. Est-ce que c'est ça le message que tu veux que les joueurs...
non, mais je pense que c'est... on a beaucoup de jeunes joueurs, OK? Fait que des fois, mais tu es capable d'en laisser partir un pour aller chercher un vétéran parce qu'on a beaucoup de jeunes. Fait que je pense que puis plus qu'on va avancer, il y aura peut-être des possibilités que des choses comme ça vont arriver, mais on continue d'essayer de les développer, puis continue d'évaluer, puis continuer à s'améliorer comme équipe. Puis des fois, mais c'est des décisions comme ça.
Martin.
All right, so Marty St. Louis says, listen, it's the part of the job that's never fun. I like Justin Barron, very coachable, really got along with him. But we went out to get a more experienced defenseman and to get players that bring experience and to bring certain tools to the lineup. You have to give up stuff, and we had to give up Justin Barron. Alex Carey is a right-handed defenseman who's got more experience. He's a guy who's tough to play against, and you know what? We can trade away some younger defensemen because we have so many of them right now. They all won't be able to play here at the same time. So in a nutshell, that's what he had to say.
Yeah, and he mentioned his combativity too, which I thought was interesting because, we've learned. I'm 61. I've been listening to clips. I've been listening to clips for 41 years, and one of the things that you actually get pretty good at is hearing what they're saying in terms that aren't insulting to one guy, but when he speaks of one thing, he's saying that's what we brought in, a guy who's combative. And when he picks that out, it's sort of like saying what we wanted was combative. And that's not like saying we don't think the other guy is, but we think we've upgraded in that area.
They praised the guy they got without knocking the guy they got rid of. By
that's it. And that's what
they basically told you what the other guy didn't have.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So, there you go. This is what we've been talking about. And I didn't just start saying this after he got traded. I was already saying it on Blue Sky that I thought that he was a soft player and they wanted, he's going to have to show the grit to grind it out at the NHL level, which he hasn't yet. And the guy that they brought in, they specifically just noted he has a high level of combativity and they're happy about that. He's a battler, and they wanted a battler in there, and that's why they brought him in, despite his size. He's a battler. He plays. I think he said just now, Martin St. Louis, that he plays, much bigger than he is.
Yeah. By the way, did you hear the question that St. Louis was asked about Russia earlier today? Did you hear that?
I did not, sir.
There are
about
people.
Russia, the nation of Russia.
Well, it was like there are people
about Demidov.
No, so the Canadiens obviously went to visit with Demidov, and they went to visit with his coach Roman Rodenberg. Everyone knows that, and Nick Bobrov was there, and Vinny Lecavalier was there, and Kent Hughes was there. And by the way, Ivan Demidov found the net earlier today and scored what was the game-winning goal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, in the slot, top shelf, blocker side. Oh yeah. And I think he'd gone like 11 games or 12 games or whatever without a goal. And he picked the top corner. Oh, yeah. He scored a beauty. Nice. Very nice, yes. But St. Louis was asked, and the question was asked something like this. There are people who are saying that in terms of international politics, the Montreal Canadiens should not be going to Russia during a time of war. And St. Louis is like, I got no comment on that.
I don't think it, They gotta conduct their business. They got business to do.
Yeah.
Right. It was business.
It made the front page of one of the French daily newspapers today that the Canadiens were in enemy territory try and persuade Demidov, and a lot of people are looking.
Well, the newspaper industry is not doing very well, Tony. So you do what you have to do to get a couple of copies sold, I guess.
Yeah, you're trying to create a little bit of a shockwave, obviously, through your front page more often than not. And anyway, so okay, Kirby Dach earlier today at practice was pretty cool. Okay, because here's a guy that's taken plenty of criticism, and a lot of it has come from yours truly. And I know, Brian, you've dished a little bit as well. All keeping in mind, of course, that he did sustain a very significant injury. However, having said that, we'd like to see more effort night in and night out. We'd like to see better defensive awareness. We'd like to see better reads. We'd like to see a lot of improvements in a lot of areas. You know that he was out there way before everyone else today, and he was practicing his shot. He was practicing his one-timer, and he was set up in Patrick Liney's office. And I got to tell you, he was ripping them. And so I think the optics of it, I think it's a really nice video to see for everyone who says that guy doesn't care. I mean,
he cares.
He doesn't get to that level if he's not a guy who cares about his hockey and his performances. I mean, let's be honest, but still doesn't excuse him for his play this year. But it was nice to see him on the ice earlier than everyone else, taking shots, trying to find the net.
Yeah, and Eric Engels wrote an article this week about Kirby Dach, and most of it was detailing how much he's committed to becoming a better player. He's going through a lot of mental work, emotional work, and physical work to get his body back, his mind back, and have a better understanding how to get through this. I mean, he's not a guy that's just saying, "Where's my paycheck?" He's working real hard, Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brutal what he's going through here.
Yeah.
You're in front of the entire world right now, trying to find your legs, and that's not fun. Like you and I, mostly when we have physical issues, we get to be by ourselves. I tore my knee out, and nobody knows it. You know what I mean?
Oh, is that right? When did that happen?
Yeah. About a month and a half ago. I'm walking normally finally now. And what did I do? Almost nothing. But when you're 60, shit breaks down.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But anyway, not to go on about, but I mean, I'm trying to make the point that, Kirby Dach has had to watch, the whole world watch him try to get his knee back.
Yeah.
And it can't be fun, and the criticism has been severe, and that can't be fun either. But, that doesn't change that it's been a rough ride for him, and the next 52 have to be better, because they can't go into next season if he's still, at the same point per game pace and the same plus minus and, the same goal pace. They can't go into next season with him as a second line center.
Yeah. Brian,
I'm not saying send him to the gulag or anything, but I am saying he can't be your 2C. He's got to be your 3C, going forward, or next season's going to look like this one.
Well, I'm not sure he's a C at all, but that's probably another topic for another day.
Well, he was before he got injured.
He was before he got injured. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was still terrible on faceoffs, though.
Oh yeah, he's always been terrible at those. Yeah, you're right.
All right, I'm going to ask you in a second if the Montreal Canadiens, what are the probabilities of them making the playoffs? I know I asked Craig. I know I asked Craig Button a couple of weeks ago, and he said people have to stop talking about the playoffs. But I mentioned it because you can go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and over. And please play responsibly. Okay, if you had $1,
Tony, why did Craig Button say stop talking about the playoffs? I have to know.
Well, he said, let's just stop talking about the playoffs. The Montreal Canadiens are not good enough. Plain and simple, they're not good enough this year to make the playoffs. So let's just forget about it. Now, we took a look at their schedule in the month of December, and they won most of the games they were supposed to win and lost the games that they were supposed to lose, with probably the exception that everyone expected something a little bit better versus the Pittsburgh Penguins, which they ended up getting obliterated by a score of 9-2 after trailing 3-2 going into the third period. This is the rest of the month is big. They're in Detroit tomorrow. They host Detroit on Saturday. By the way, I'm actually very surprised. I'm not surprised that Montembeau's starting, but I'm surprised that Montembeau is getting the start on the road tomorrow. It's been confirmed. I thought that traditionally Montembeau plays at home and Primo plays on the road. The Canadiens are actually playing Montembeault on the road in Detroit tomorrow, and we'll see what happens for Saturday. So now,
him again.
Detroit on Friday, Detroit on Saturday, in Columbus on Monday, and then after that, 4 days off during the holidays to play in Florida on Saturday afternoon, the 28th, in Tampa Sunday afternoon, the 29th, late afternoon, and in Vegas Tuesday afternoon, the 31st. Those last 3 games are going to be really tough. These games versus Detroit, let's just say, Brian, they win
both.
Detroit tomorrow, they win Detroit Saturday, they win Columbus on Monday, and somebody says to you at that point, Brian,
yeah,
you think the Canadiens can make the playoffs? What are you going to say?
Well, I'm still going to say even if they win those 3 games, there'll be 1 game under 500, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible how bad the math is. Like it's impossible for people to put it into perspective that look at points. Like when you look and you go, hey, they're only 8 back. I mean, it doesn't sound like much 8 back, right? It's really hard to make up 8 because everybody's getting 3 instead of 2 every time you play a game. The possibility exists. But the truth is they got something like 50 left. 50 around. I'm going to give you round numbers here instead of non-round numbers, but I think it's 51. But let's call it 50 for the ease. They have to go 35 and 20.
51 games left. 51 games left. Yeah.
They got to go because they're going to need probably 95, right?
Well, for the most part,
even if it's 90.
91 got in last year. Washington got in last year at 91.
Right. And right now it's on pace with Ottawa's resurgence here. It's 95. But let's even make it 91 for fun.
Well,
okay?
We could make it 92. We'll give it an even number, 92, which means they need 65 points.
That's right.
So
they basically need 33 and 17. Like, that's crazy, Tony. They 33 and 17.
Yeah, they need 32, 17, and 1 to get 65 points.
That's nuts.
To add to their 27 to finish with 92.
Right.
And 92 might not get in. It would last year, but it might not get in. 32, 17, and 1 to get 92 points, which may not get you in. 91 got you in last year, but there have been years where there was a year the Canadiens didn't get in with 96.
That's right. I remember that year. That was crazy. They got 96. They missed by a point. Yeah. But let's say it's even 90. Okay. Like even then, I mean, look at that. Like 32 wins in their final 15 to get to 90. Like it's crazy how it just never feels like it's that bad when you look at points.
I think they have one chance to get that. You ready for the crazy answer I'm going to give you?
Okay.
You want to know what their chance is? They go undefeated the rest of the month. Because they're playing 2 teams and they're playing Detroit twice. They're in their conference. They're playing Columbus. They're in their conference. That's 3 games. Right. They're playing Florida and Tampa. That's 5 games in their conference. They cannot drop a point. They got to go undefeated.
Right. And so let me take it this way. Like you just mentioned the Detroits and the Columbus and everything, and before it gets hard down in Florida, right? So that suddenly, if they do put a little run together, find themselves around 500. Now it's 28 and 18. Like 28 and 18 starts to feel a little digestible, right?
Yeah. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough.
But it's amazing. Like it's so hard in the NHL to get yourself in a hole. I don't think people have a real sense of how hard it is to come out of a hole in the NHL because of the 3-point game.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult too with Cade and Primo.
Yeah.
And
I think we should just
not going to be able to play all the games.
Well, but with that said, like you can't have an auto loss. I'm starting to call it an auto loss.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get 8-3-5 as a goaltender, it's an auto loss. You're not scoring 7.
Everyone's feeling that way when he goes in goal, and very unfortunately, so does he. Right? Okay.
What are they going to do about that, Tony?
Well,
they're not going to stay the rest of the year like this, are they?
I think they might. Wow. with Dobish being up next year and Jacob Fowler being in Laval with Connor Hughes. That's the way I see it going.
I think they're going to get a goalie. I think they're waiting to see if they have a nice December, the schedule you just laid out.
Yeah.
If we're having a chat on December 31st and they go, hey, wow, we're 500. or we're one game over 500, we better go get a goalie.
They could do that too. That's obviously
like if it's 26 and 18 that they got to finish with starting Jan 1, they'll get a goalie.
If they get a goalie, then next year their goalies in Laval will be Dobish and Fowler.
You think Fowler already?
What's the incentive to stay at Boston College another year?
For a third season? Yeah. But it's young, eh? That's young for a goalie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, you ready for this? I don't know if you heard this yesterday on BPM Sports. I think it was more of a conversation for the sake of just having a conversation. So it all started with, they were talking about what Rasmus Dahlin means to the Buffalo Sabres.
Go on.
All right. And he's been out of the lineup with an injury. And obviously they're just a terrible team with him. Imagine without them, where they're even a lot more awful. And Mathias Brunet was the collaborator on Martin Lemay's show. And Le Retour des Sportifs from 2:55 p.m. to 5:55 p.m. until 6:55 p.m. on Canadiens game nights. And they talked about Rasmus Dahlin being a stud, who was drafted first overall. By the way, so was Owen Power, but I don't like what I'm seeing from Power. But they talked about Rasmus Dahlin being a first pick overall, and they talked about Rasmus Dahlin putting up a season of 73 points a couple of years ago, and they talked about Rasmus Dahlin still being a very young defenseman in the National Hockey League. He's 24 years of age. He will turn 25 in April. So then, Mathias was saying that, having a Rasmus Dahlin is like having a Victor Hedman. His impact is the impact that a Victor Hedman will give you for the next 10 years in the National Hockey League. Okay? So get their trade propositions. Are you ready?
Go on.
So Martin Lemay is willing to give up for Rasmus Dahlin, Cole Caulfield, and Lane Hudson.
No. You? How about you? How do you feel about that?
I don't think so. No. Like you.
No.
So I take a look at everything Dahlin, and I love Rasmus Dahlin, okay, but I'll take a look at everything Dahlin does great. I think there's going to be certain things that Hudson can do just as well, or will end up doing better. And obviously Dahlin is a lot more.
I do that for Heiskanen.
Okay. Dahlin is a lot more difficult to play against. Dahlin's a lot tougher to play against. Dahlin can log a lot of minutes. He's a workhorse. He could be a shutdown defenseman. He can also put up points. He can also help your power play. Lane Hudson is on pace to put up about 53 or 54 points as a 20-year-old rookie in the National Hockey League. Rasmus Dahlin put up about 53 or 54 points as a 21-year-old. Lane Hudson could probably do it in his rookie season as a 20-year-old. I think Lane Hudson will have seasons where his best point production will exceed that of Rasmus Dahlin. I think he could be a better quarterback on the power play. And we're talking about two fan favorites here. And without knowing if Laine doesn't re-sign with the Montreal Canadiens, could you imagine losing Laine and losing Caulfield? I mean, who's going to score goals? So I say no. Now,
it sounds silly to me, frankly.
Now, Mathias Brunet's deal. Caden Gooley, Michael Hage, and the first pick unprotected. And the first pick unprotected.
No. Well, why did they think this guy's Jesus? He's not even close to Jesus. He hasn't won a game for them. If he's so great, how come they're so terrible?
Yeah.
Year after year after year.
He's a good player. He's a good player.
Well, he's a good player, but at the same time, Tony, Victor Hedman is a kind of guy that wins games. I mean, he's got a better supporting cast too. But there are maybe 5 defenders in this league that can shut down a game, control a game, and win the game for you. And Victor Hedman is one. In Dallas, I love Heiskanen. He is another. Cale Makar is a third. There are very few of them. There are great defenders that can't win games by themselves. Yeah. Quinn Hughes is a great defender. He does not have the ability to win a game. He doesn't play that kind of hockey. You know what I mean? Like the guys I just mentioned are both ends of the ice dominant and can shut down hockey games. And that'd be the only guy, that type of player on defense.
Pietrangelo when he was winning cups, obviously.
Right.
With Vegas.
Those are the only names
that
that I would put even in the same conversation. But even then, you're paying too much.
But that one freaked me out. The first round pick unprotected. And what
It's
if
all that?
and
It's
what if
all-
and what if you have the third pick and you have the ability to get Matthew Schaefer?
Matthew Schaefer is like, the way they're talking about him.
Well, they're talking about him going number one, but let's
Yeah.
just say it's Martone and Higgins, and Schaefer goes third, and you have the third pick. You trade that unprotected pick. You trade that third pick. You could have had Schaefer for the next 15 years at an entry-level contract for the first 3.
Right, and he's getting Pronger comparisons, like
Yeah.
a dominant hockey player already. And he made the World Junior team as an underage at the World Juniors. I mean, that's crazy. That happens at forward sometimes, and at defense never.
Interesting,
That's how good he is.
interesting conversation they had yesterday. Look, I say this: sports is a matter of opinion. That's the beauty of the whole thing,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Mathias has his, Marte has his, I have mine.
And I
you
love
have
both
yours.
those guys. Don't get me wrong.
And it doesn't mean
I think
that
they were
they're
having
wrong.
a little too much fun.
It doesn't mean that they're wrong and we're right, you know. And it's I'm sure there's going to be people that would do it, and I'm sure there's going to be
Here's
others
the
like
question.
us who would not.
Here's a question for you then.
Yeah.
And I don't really like the term very much, untouchable, because for a price, everybody's touchable,
Yeah.
right? Wayne Gretzky was touchable. But if you had to pick in the organization right now and use the word untouchable, because the names that they used made me think about it, who would you?
In the Canadiens organization, untouchable.
I'd have 2. I got 2 untouchables.
In the entire organization.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Lane Hudson for me as one.
Yeah, that's one of mine. And my other?
Okay, and this is probably going to shock you, but I'd go with Fowler because I don't see how you're going to get another young goalie who's going to come with that pedigree.
So you have 3 untouchables then, because you
well, right now
I'm
I'm at Hudson and I'm at Fowler.
Keep thinking.
Untouchable.
Yeah. I have a third. It's got to be. Come on.
He's
He's going to be the first 100-point. He's going to be the first 100-point Canadian since 1986. Yep.
Demidov.
That's your 3.
Yeah.
And I'll accept Fowler as an untouchable because they got nobody else in the organization.
Yeah.
Unless they maybe got, Kosa.
Roman Roderberg. Roman
Right.
Roderberg tells Kent Hughes, Vinny LeCave, and Nick Brabrov, he says, listen, a year ago, Demidov wasn't strong enough. He was thin and he was weak. I spoke to him. He got stronger. This year, he wins those battles. And so he's much better in that respect. And he says, look, he's got all the genes of a Kirill Kaprizov. And you know what? He doesn't have to be Nikita Kucherov to me. If he's Kirill Kaprizov, that's good enough for me. I'll take it.
Well, they're looking for, and Nick so far is a point per game player, but I mean, it's been, we all know this since 1994. Vincent Damphousse, since they got a PPG and 100-point guys, 1986, Naslund. So, one's on the team right now, point per game, and the 100-point guy's on his way. I think the future's looking pretty darn good.
They've had a point per game guy since Damphousse, if I can.
Alex Kovalev. Yeah, that's great.
35 goals, 49 assists, 84 points.
Pardon me. Yeah.
1 year. It happened 1 year that he was over a point per game. It happened 1 year.
You're right. 84 points. You're correct.
Yeah.
Sorry about
that. So look, Kaprizov. That's pretty
so
cool.
Caulfield, you didn't call untouchable.
No, but and we didn't call Slavkovsky untouchable. Isn't that something? He went first overall. We didn't call him an untouchable. And right now, there are people watching right now on YouTube and on Facebook that are screaming Slavkovsky. And, it's funny because time changes a lot of things in the way we do our work, right? Like if this was March of last year, we're having this conversation, the way Slavkovsky was playing then,
right?
We're calling him an untouchable.
Yeah.
But, almost in the third week of December here, we're not because he's off to, an average start.
3 goals in half the season almost.
3 goals in half
With that said, like every time I go there, I got to say the thing I say. And I know that it sounds repetitive and people probably wish I wouldn't do it, but he's 20.
Yeah.
We got to remember he's 20. We got to remember Doc's knee injury, and we got to remember he's 20. But yeah, he's not untouchable at the moment in my mind. If somebody made you like an offer that was a top 5 guy from a year ago, 2 years ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the draft, that kind of guy, would you make Logan Cooley? Would you, if somebody said, "Hey, I want some size in my team, I'll give you Logan Cooley."
I love Logan Cooley. I love.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But I'll tell you what, though, the one thing we're not talking about here is like right now, Cooley's numbers are pretty good, right? And even Shane Wright's numbers are looking not bad. But who's going to give you the juice in the playoffs, right? Like Logan's a little small, and he might not be the juice in the playoffs. They believe Slafkovsky's the juice.
Slafkovsky can have playoff years like John Leclerc had. And John Leclerc was a huge part of the Montreal Canadiens winning the Stanley Cup. So look, speaking of 20, tomorrow will be December 20, and the Montreal Canadiens will play in Detroit. And, I will be in to bring you the Habs post-game edition of that of the Sick Podcast.
Oh, with Pierre?
Even though I'm usually off on Fridays, but I'm going to work Friday. And I have to work Friday. I have to pinch
Huge game.
I have to fill in tomorrow, I've been told. So I'm going to be filling in tomorrow.
You've been told?
And pinching, And so that's it. All right, Brian, thank you. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
All right, cheers. Thanks a lot.
All right,
appreciate it.
There you have it. Brian Wilde of Global TV Montreal. Yeah, that's it for another edition of the Sick Podcast. Special thanks to all of our sponsors, of course. Energy Transportation Group, Bittt, Tibi, Playground, Fruiterie Dillard, and Betway. And thanks to all of you for watching. If you liked it, leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Agnello and Sammy and Master Control, thanks for watching, everyone. The Sick Podcast will be back tomorrow night. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.